All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the December meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Nick Corcoran. I'm currently the chairman of this commission, which is comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing site plans and special use permits for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the City of Binghamton Code. Based on our total number of planning commission members, 4 members must be present to constitute a quorum. Tonight, it looks like we have 6 members, which means we do have a quorum and can proceed. First item on our agenda is roll call. Mario DeFulvio. Chris Judgeets.
Here I am, rocky like a hurricane.
Thank you. Kelly Weiss is not here. Manny Priest.
Here.
Kyle Nedlick.
Here.
And Tim Sesney.
Present.
All right. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the November meeting minutes. Did anybody see anything in the November minutes that they needed changed or identify any errors in there? And if not, is there a motion to approve? All right, motion by Tim, second by Manny, all in favor? All right, 6 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. Next item on the agenda are our seeker determinations. All right, in this portion of our meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by applicants for the first time. Applicants will be called to the microphone where they will be asked to make a presentation describing their plans to the commission. Commission members may then ask questions of the applicant to clarify any items that are unclear. And after all questions have been answered, the commission will deliberate and then either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. To all applicants that will be presenting tonight, we ask that you please state your name and address for our public records before beginning your presentation. And we ask that any member of your team who will be speaking, please also give their name and address for our public record. Tonight, our first seeker determination is for the applicant A3 Binghamton LLC. The project address is 107 Chapin Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit to convert an existing residential building into a congregate living facility with 6 sleeping rooms in the R3 residential multi-unit dwelling district.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Mangrino. I represent Amicus Properties.
My name is Mike Major Engineering. We're at 174 Fredericks Road in Johnson City.
All right, and if everybody could just speak, you got to get that microphone real close to your mouth. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so the existing dwelling is currently 5 bedrooms. We're looking to convert one of the existing rooms on the second floor into a bedroom as well. The project would include basically adding 2 short walls to create the new bedroom space in the second floor where the current living room is. Other than that, the layout will largely remain as is.
All right, and for the record, Kelly Weiss has arrived. All right, so that's it. Pretty straightforward.
But yeah, it's just we want to make sure we know the person that we purchased the property was starting this process and then handed it to us when we purchased the property a few months back, and we're finally at this point. We did the survey. We had a problem with the garage. There's a 4-car garage that was in the back that had rotted. Trees had come down. I've got photos of that. We had to take it down. It was in unsafe condition. So right off the bat, that 4-car garage area already had those spaces, and the rest is all gravel process driveway back there. There's more than enough room for 6 vehicles, but I just We have that shown on there. I didn't put the actual parking spaces, but I do have photos of the 4-car garage. If anyone would like, I made copies as well to show that it had a 4-car garage there. So there was always 4 in the driveway, and it's a very large driveway. But if we need to do anything, just let us know on that. If you'd like those, I have those. And they're pretty basic. It's just a very big house, and it didn't need 2 living rooms. And we're trying to turn that 2nd floor living room space into another bedroom.
All right. Questions?
Yes.
Chris, yes.
Nick. So let's talk about parking then for a minute. So the staff report notes that there are currently 0 compliant parking spots on the plans. So you're saying you can develop for us some updated plans
I
that will
can,
have a full set of 6
I can
required parking
produce to
spots?
show you the 4 where we've taken down the garage, which there's 4 spaces right there. And we can redesign that and put the proposal on the actual site plan. And that kind of went by my wayside because I thought, well, right here showing me, but he suggested that maybe we do a plan. So if that's what you need, I have no problem providing you that.
Please, I think that'll keep everybody in the planning department happy as well. The other question was what the plan is for a waste management plan and garbage disposal. Or is it gonna be like a dumpster, some sort of enclosure for garbage? What is your plan for the garbage at this site?
Probably an enclosure would be,
I could probably make an enclosure with no problem. We'll put that on the plan. Okay, not a problem.
All right, Tim, yeah.
With the proposed bedroom there, if that does not get approved to be turned into a bedroom, does that kill this project for you guys?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
It would definitely, and that was the purpose we bought the property with the intention that it was already in the planning hands, and then I had to just come up with the survey and not that it was approved, but going forward, that was the idea. That was the reason for purchasing the property.
So in congregate living, somebody just rents a room in the building and then they share the common space.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so between this meeting and the next meeting, you could do a revised plan that'll just show the layout of the parking
Yes, sir.
and the garbage.
Yes, sir.
All right. So in that case, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the reuse of an existing building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and that no further environmental review is required. Seconded by Chris, all in favor? All right, that's 6 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the project at 5:20 at our January meeting.
Thank you.
Seconded by Manny, all in favor? 6 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you back in January.
Thank you.
All right,
thank you.
thank you. All right. Our next seeker determination tonight is for the applicant Owen Bly. Project address is 226 Court Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to add 5 dwelling units to the ground floor and basement of an existing building, resulting in 15 total units in the C1 Service Commercial District. Hello,
Hi, how are you?
good. Name and address for our record.
Owen Bly, 33 Court Street, Binghamton, New York.
All right. What are you thinking about doing?
So I purchased this multifamily apartment building in August. It's got 10 residential apartments in it right now. My plan is to add 5 apartments to the building. 3 of those apartments will be built out in the basement of the building, and 2 of those apartments will result in breaking up the current floor plan on the ground floor. More specifically, the ground floor currently has 2 total apartments, each of them 3 bedrooms. The plan would be to convert those 3-bedroom apartments into 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom. So, each 3-bedroom apartment would be converted into a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom for the same total number of bedrooms, but an additional apartment. And so that's how you get to 5 new apartments.
Gotcha. All right. So just to address the plans that were submitted, what's your plan for when you need to get building permits for this? Are you hiring an engineer or?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be Lakeside Engineering. They've been on site. They've done a Matterport. And as a first step, I actually took them through the property to make sure they believed I would be able to do this with code compliance. Naturally, with basement renovations, there's some additional layers of code that you need to make sure you're hitting from an egress perspective, sprinkler perspective, window perspective. And so I've brought them through, and they gave me the thumbs up that, hey, you should be able to do this within, code compliance. They're in the process of developing the floor plans, et cetera, according to, their interpretation of the code.
Okay. Do you think between this meeting and the next meeting, we would have slightly better plans than a hand
Yes,
sketch?
I should have engineering plans, whether they're stamped or not, another question, but I was hoping to actually have them before this meeting, but it should be any day that they're sending me the first version.
All right, perfect.
The basement itself does have 2 natural means of egress. There's a staircase coming from the back parking lot directly into the basement, and then there's a secondary staircase that goes up to the front entrance. So that's one advantage. The second advantage of this basement project is most Binghamton buildings are foundation is in field stone. This basement is actually cinder block, so a bit more modern, which one, aesthetically looks a lot nicer. It's easier to fur out, but also it allows me to put the egress windows into all the bedrooms much easier than the field stone. The basement already has approximately 12 windows lined on both the east and west side of the building. And so converting those windows to egress windows where I need to in the bedroom should be fairly easy. And the other windows that exist, can just remain to provide natural light into, say, the kitchen area or living space.
All right. All right. And then are you making any upgrades to the facade of the building, or it's just internal renovation?
This is just internal.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions or? Chris?
Yeah, let's talk about parking for a minute.
Sure.
So this might be directed both towards you and towards Tito and planning. So on your site plan, I'm seeing 7 red boxed numbered parking spots behind the building. But Tito, I noticed in the staff report, it says there's only 6 that appear compliant and 1 which is not. What's going on there with his plan and what's compliant versus not compliant?
Parking space number 7 is not compliant in itself, and it also makes 1 and 2 non-compliant because they can't back out adequately. And that's an assumption because there are no dimensions on that parking plan. So those are 2 things that should be revised.
Okay, so to help the applicant out, if he's going to do some sort of revised plan before the next meeting, if you're going to, because I don't have these things memorized, there are dimensions somewhere that specify how far parking spot 7 should be from 1 and 2. So in theory, all 3 could be compliant.
Yeah, there are drive aisle dimensions that they need to available to be able to back out of that space safely.
Is there a second issue with number 7 besides it being too close to 1 and 2?
It doesn't have the adequate drive aisle.
Okay.
So that parking lot configuration I inherited with the purchase. That's not my plan or proposal. That's simply how it's currently painted.
Okay.
I can get rid of the seventh parking space. The reality is we have 10 tenants in there right now. There's 10 apartments. They're all fully rented, and we only have 3 tenants with vehicles. And so, most of our tenants in that building do not drive vehicles. They actually drive either electric bicycles or regular bicycles. They live and work downtown. And so parking hasn't been a constraint for us. We have 3 vehicles that rent, from 7 existing spaces. The compliance of those spaces, ultimately wasn't my application. What I wrote in those red spaces is simply what's painted right now. And if they're not compliant and I have to, black out one of them, then I absolutely can. But we don't have all of them being utilized right now as it is. And so in adding 5 more, I would anticipate the demographic within the building stays relatively similar to where we're at in terms of the percentage of tenants who have vehicles. And I feel the parking lot is adequate from that perspective.
I guess my only concern is if we grant some sort of a waiver for the minimum parking requirements for your building, if in 2 or 3 years a whole bunch of your tenants turn over and there are new tenants that do have vehicles, this neighborhood could be crunched because there'll be more cars.
Yeah, I think ultimately this building just won't appeal to them, right? I think there's a lot of people in the city of Binghamton that want good housing that don't have vehicles. I haven't had any issues leasing, these apartments in the time that I've owned the building, and there were probably 4 or 5 vacancies when I bought the building. And in each case, they're well aware of the number of parking spaces that are or aren't available, and the free market allows them to choose if they want to move in or not. I think ultimately, like I said, right now I have 3 tenants that have vehicles, and that's it. There is street parking within a reasonable distance, and there's certainly garage parking within walking distance as well, although it's not convenient garage parking. I just think the value of adding more places for somebody to live downtown outweighs the idea that maybe there wouldn't be a parking space, especially when I'm seeing the majority of my tenants, riding electric bikes or simple bicycles.
May I add to this?
Of course.
A couple of things you just said, that it wouldn't appeal to people who might have cars in the future, say. I think that might lead to some thoughts I had on the facade of the building really needing some updating. I think that I don't want to get in a situation where we're just making cheap housing and really continuing with something that's not going to help our city to grow with this. We just don't want somebody plopped in a building. And if we let everybody who came and said our tenants don't have cars, we would have mayhem, because that's what every single applicant comes to us and says, and we have a parking problem in the city. So whether or not that's current, you're going to add a couple of spots in there that people are going to live, and it's going to change over, and they're going to hopefully have cars because you're going to have a nice building. So we're not a city that does a lot of e-biking. I mean, I'd love to see these e-bikes because I'm not seeing it running around in the city. So I think parking spots are at a premium right now.
Yeah, there is a park and ride directly across the street that is owned by the city, and actually I believe utilized by the fire department. And so I know tenants in the past have had visitors, et cetera, park in that. It's next to the Mirabito gas station. This property is further on the east side of Binghamton as opposed to directly downtown, where we tend to have the parking crunch that you mentioned. And I don't mean to say, the place won't appeal to people with vehicles. I have 7 parking spaces right now. Apparently, maybe only 6 are compliant, but either 6 or 7 parking spaces for the building. And like I said, right now, it's open to all of the tenants, and only 3 are being utilized. So I do have for 5 new apartments, 3 available parking spaces. And ultimately, again, I just feel the value of adding additional homes downtown, which I think we all can agree there is a housing crisis in Binghamton. The value of adding those homes is far more valuable than having parking spaces for each and every one of them. That's ultimately where I stand on that.
So my big issue is these site plans. We're trying to add more housing into a big building already. And you can't even see where escapes are for people to get out of basements or anything from here. I almost think this is like inconclusive on, you've got to come back to have another hearing on this just to see if we could discuss this again because the inadequate site plans.
I mean, ultimately, there's a balance between trying to get a project approved and spending the thousands and thousands of dollars it costs for an engineer to do the plans. You know,
But if you're going to want to put these apartments in, I mean, there's got to be more information on this on our end too.
okay.
Because I mean, right now as this sits, it's almost a no because I can't see what we need to see to approve things.
Yeah,
mean, I'm
I
also
think
happy to-
we're all shaking our head. I think we agree.
Is it,
Vote no.
so is this, sorry, is this, the type of thing though, so between this meeting and the next meeting, if we can look at it enough in what he's provided to give him a reasonable idea of whether it's a yes or a no, to keep moving.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. You say you don't have the information that you need, help clarify what it is you're looking at. I do understand that what I submitted was essentially my drawings as opposed to an engineer's drawings. I was of the understanding that that was adequate for this meeting and maybe that was incorrect. So apologies if that was incorrect. That was my understanding, but I am happy to answer any questions you might have to help clarify where the egress is or whatever, you know, concerns you might have.
Let's start with egresses. Where are we going here?
Yeah, so the entrance to the building is right along Court Street in the front, so it would be the north side of the building that faces Court Street. And the second egress is along the back. It's directly in the center of the building where the parking lot is in the back. So the south side of the building, they're both right in the center of the building. And as you walk in the door, there's a staircase both up and down. In the rear entrance, it's a staircase simply down, and then there's a set of back porches that allow you to go up and down the back porches of the building.
Anybody else have any questions on site plans here?
Just back on parking, if this commission would want you to require or want to require you to lease a minimum number of spaces to make sure that you get the minimum, is that something you'd be okay with?
I think yes, but rephrase your question, please. I'm not sure I understood.
So in order to grant this application, if this commission required you, in addition to the on-site parking spaces, required you to lease the additional parking spaces to make up what was required, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, do you mean to non-tenants potentially, like lease the parking spaces as open?
Lease them so that you could rent them to your tenants.
Yeah, they're available to the tenants. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And if
Am I explaining this correctly?
He
or-
wants to know if you would lease off-site parking spaces to meet the minimum number of spaces required for the project. In other words, you would need to lease 5 spaces off-site.
oh, like rent them from someone else,
Correct.
where would you propose?
From across the street, the park and ride, or, you know, the city does have different areas where you could lease them, and the planning department would be able to provide those suggestions. And it's my understanding that you've been in contact and in discussion.
Yeah, I spoke with economic development that they were in some early discussions about 229 Court Street across the street. Obviously, it's not set in stone, but that's an option. It would have to be within 500 feet, though.
Yeah, I mean, I did reach out to the city with interest in purchasing the lot directly across the street for this purpose, and I absolutely would be open to doing that. I was told that it's not available for sale right now, and that the fire department's using it. That being said, you know, I'm there all the time. I'm at this building every day right now, and I haven't seen it being utilized. I would absolutely purchase over there and or, you know, consider renting spaces. The only piece is, you know, I'm not sure it would make a lot of sense for me to be renting spaces that aren't being used either. I would like there to be a give and take. What is the minimum requirement for number of spaces that I'm supposed to have?
You'd need 5. You need a space per unit, basically.
Really, in downtown, everywhere downtown Binghamton, if you add apartments, you need a space per unit.
If you're adding apartments, you need a space per unit, yeah.
Got it.
This is not in the C2 district. In the C2 downtown business district, there's no parking requirement for units with 4 beds or less in an existing building. But since you're outside of the C2, you do need those spaces per unit.
I mean, my answer to you is yes. Ultimately, I want to do the project and I want to do it in a way that y'all are happy with and that works. I think there's a lot of value in adding 5 apartments right there. Like I said, when I put these up for lease, and I'm getting good tenants and I'm a good landlord, I work really hard and I treat the property with respect. I do all of the maintenance that I need to. I'm a local landlord. I live in downtown Binghamton. I'm invested in this city. I want a really good, a really good property. I see when I'm listing these units, demand like immediately. I could rent 5 more tomorrow because there's people who need housing, right? And these are going to be good quality apartments that are at a reasonable price for people to move in. I think that value, it far outweighs the idea that, hey, nope, we're not going to give people 5 apartments to move into when people need them, because the parking lot out back has 6 apartment or 6 parking spaces, and there's not a parking lot right next door that I can lease spaces. If there is one within 500 feet, the answer is yes. I would lease spaces. That's not an issue. Like I said, I've already tried to purchase the parking lot across the street that is not really being utilized right now, and ultimately was told it's not for sale. And I would buy it, by the way, if it were for sale.
So you would lease, is what you're saying?
Yes, although I'm not aware of any spaces within 500 feet to do that, and I know the area pretty well.
Chris, yeah.
On a different topic, the staff report also asks about the waste management plan for the building. And if you do some updated site plans, if you'll show a dumpster or a garbage container enclosure. What is your plan for handling trash at the site?
Yeah,
Especially
ultimately,
with the additional units.
yeah, I want to make sure that the property is clean. That's first and foremost, absolutely. Right now, and again, I inherited this, but the way that garbage is handled is all of the tenants on the back porch, on their back porch or front porch, have an enclosed container. It has to be enclosed, a plastic bin with an enclosed lid. It was written into their leases. Excuse me. That's where they store their trash until trash day, and then everyone takes their trash out to the front. That system, since I've owned the building, seems to work very nicely. We haven't had any complaints, and we don't have a rodent infestation. We don't have cockroaches, mice, anything like that. So that has worked well. That's the advantage of having back patios and porches, is each individual apartment has a place that they can store their own refuge until trash day comes around. My plan would be to continue with that unless there proved to be an issue, and in which case I would either build an enclosure on the east side of the building where refuge can be stored until trash day, or put a dumpster if I had to. Although the reason I wasn't super inclined to a dumpster, and many of my properties do have dumpsters, the reason I wasn't inclined for a dumpster in this case is simply because it then eats into that parking lot, which is already small. So it's a give or take in that scenario. But that was my plan.
Tito, is what the applicant described with individual lidded containers, is that sufficient for code and planning concerns?
The zoning code says you need an enclosure somewhere on the site, whether it be a dumpster or an enclosure for garbage cans. Because the building existed for a long time without that, you were okay, but now that you're adding units, you have to meet the current requirement. And so you would have to find somewhere on the site to put an enclosure for all the garbage, or I guess those individual locations would have to have an opaque enclosure. So you're not supposed to be able to see the garbage cans
From the exterior of the building, basically.
From anywhere. They're supposed to be enclosed in an opaque enclosure.
Okay, so those back patios would be fairly easy, based on what I'm understanding, to meet that requirement. Where they're currently storing those plastic bins, it would be pretty easy to enclose them and not have them visible from the exterior. And then ultimately, if I had to, in order to meet the requirements, I believe there's enough space on the alleyway on the east side of the building between the building and the property line to put some type of enclosure, whether it was a chain link fence with the, plastic strips through it that you can't see through or whatever. I think there's room there for that. A dumpster is tougher just because it's going to take a parking space away for sure.
All right.
Whatever the method is, it should be shown on the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so between now and the next meeting, if you could update that plan to show officially what parking spaces you're proposing and the garbage plan.
Yeah, and ultimately, like I said, I've already engaged at this point with the engineer. He will be providing me with actual drawings. He had said hopefully before Thanksgiving, but that didn't happen. So, I'm anticipating this week, and at that point, you'll have something better than my hand drawings to refer to.
All right, to be fair to the applicant, is the 11 parking spaces, that's the minimum that everybody wants to see being able to accommodate, or are we willing to waive a certain portion?
Well, maybe I'd actually add to that in that, again, I inherited the 7 that are there. If
But
my
are there
understanding,
7?
there's 7 painted there right now. Yes.
So the seventh one doesn't count. So he
Right.
has 6. Those 6 are allocated to what's there. And he only needs to provide additional parking for the new units that he's building. So that's, and there are 5 of those. So that's where the 11 comes from.
Okay, thank
And
you.
so ultimately, my question is if of the ones I have right now, only 3 are being utilized, right? Can the 3 extra count towards?
You have 6 currently. You need 11 in total.
There's 6
Yes, you
legal
have
ones.
3 cars right now, but I might buy a new car next week too. I can't go off of 3 current tenants saying that they have cars now with potential new tenants having cars, because this is an intersection in an area where you are going to have parking issues, I think. That's my 2 cents on it.
Again, I would encourage the group to think of it from the value you're adding by increasing the number of living spaces downtown. I think, everyone can agree there's been a housing crisis in Binghamton for some time now. If you want to go buy a house, if you want to go rent a house, especially if you're not a student and you're looking for a reasonable place to live, it's not easy. There's not a lot out there. And the value of adding 5 additional places, I think, is high. And so, what I'm suggesting is if right now technically the parking lot only had 3 spaces, I know it has 6, and technically it has 7 painted, but it has 6 according to the rules is what I'm understanding. If it only had 3, right, you guys would be saying, well, you need 5 more, so you need 8, right? It just so happens it has 3 that aren't being utilized, but those 3 could be allocated directly to, the new apartments that are going in.
Correct, but then we also didn't talk about the garbage refuse area. So then are you taking your 3 spaces that you currently have, already diminishing 1 just for
No,
that?
no,
So then
that-
we're going down in spaces because we have inadequate site plans here.
No, so the garbage refuge area is new to me as part of this meeting, but ultimately, no, I wouldn't be taking any parking spaces for garbage refuge. That's why I don't want to put a dumpster there. My plan would be to either enclose the back patio spaces if that meets the needs of enclosure for them, and or on the east side of the building, add an enclosed space, but not in the parking lot because, to your point, it would then take parking spaces.
Chris, yes.
I don't think anybody is going to dispute that there's a desire and a need for additional quality housing in the city. But I can also just say that I am regularly spoken to by residents and city taxpayers that they're concerned about parking issues, that there's way too many cars, not enough off-street parking, and that becomes a quality of life issue for our local residents and our local taxpayers when there's a surplus of extra cars on these streets. And that's why I'll just be brutally honest with you. I am not willing to commit to voting for a waiver because I still have outstanding questions. I just want to be honest with you.
Okay. And what questions do you have?
The question is, should I be waiving these parking spots, or should I be expecting the owner of this property adding 5 units to also be adding 5 spots?
I mean, the reality is there's not space on the site for 5 spots to add. If I had more acreage, I would pave it and I would add the spaces. I would absolutely do that. I plan to repave the parking lot anyway to make it nicer. And you also mentioned at one point that you'd love to see facade improvements. When I said that there's no facade improvements, it meant as part of this plan. I've already purchased, if you went and looked at the building right now, you can see about half of it has been redone along the top edge in a sheet metal. I already have, the rest of that project to be completed next year, which is a facade improvement. It's just not related to these apartments. The whole building will be repainted. I mean, I plan to maintain the building as best as I can. It's not going to be a dump, for lack of better words. It's going to be a really nice place to live, as are all of my other properties. And ultimately, as you mentioned, the electric bikes. I could take a photo right now in the basement of where I provide, an area for them to leave their electric bikes. And I have, 5 or 6 of them down there. They absolutely are using electric bikes. Quincy uses an electric bike. Robert Miles uses an electric bike. Todd Brunel uses an electric bike. And those are just 3 of the tenants right off the top of my head. And so I plan to create an actual area enclosed out of, they store them in the basement right now. I would be doing four apartments in the basement, but I plan to leave one whole area open so I can build, a laundry center for them. I can build a rack that they can leave these electric bikes that are organized and not just leaned up against the wall next to trash. So it's going to be a better place. It's going to be a better living situation. And they absolutely are using electric bikes because, and I own a restaurant downtown, and several of our employees use electric bikes to get to and from work because it's a more affordable option for them to, travel within 5 to 10 miles as opposed to buying a vehicle. And so I do think, not only this project, but projects in the future, you're going to see tenants using electric bikes. If you go to the bike shop on Front Street, I was just there because I replaced and fixed one of my employees' electric bikes for him. I was just there and I asked them, are these things popular? And they said, you wouldn't believe it. We can't even keep them in stock, right? So electric bikes absolutely are a thing. Yeah.
It's hard for us because when we make a concession, which maybe yours is a great reason to make a concession, right? But if we make these concessions, then every project that comes to us wants those same concessions. So it's a real hard thing for us to figure out where the lines are. And it's not a personal thing, I get it. This seems like maybe right there you don't have as much trouble but
And
those are the things
ultimately,
we're up against all the time, and that's why we have to make these boundaries.
if you drove over to the property right now, I've owned it for a couple of months. I already redid the entire back staircase, right? Because it was starting to rot, et cetera. Completely redid it, completely redid the back patios. You'll see all new pressure treated wood back there. It needs to air out for the winter, and then we'll paint it in the spring. Point being, I'm going to invest into the property, and the property is going to be about twice as nice as it was when I bought it 2 years from now. Whether this project occurs or not, I invest into my properties, I maintain them. I'm a local landlord, and I want to have a good functioning building that's, adequate for people to live and have a good space.
All right, so, sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
I'll say this, I would be willing to forego the parking spaces if you included some of those updates to the facade that you're planning to do on a, just a time scale. Doesn't have to be this immediate thing. And the rest of the things to update where the trash is, et cetera. I would be that, not speaking for the rest of the group, but I would be willing to do that. So that's my 2 cents on all of that.
That's no problem at all. I plan to do the facade things. I can include them as part of the submission, and that's not an issue.
All right, just there. I think I agree with Kelly. That's Looks like one other person. Nobody has a title or required to answer that question, but it helps the applicant not waste his time if between now and the next meeting, if there are others that are kind of the same mind, it would be okay if he didn't quite meet the parking requirements. If they would be open to that, letting him know that tonight would be helpful to him. So there's, potentially it looks like there are three people that seem to be okay, amenable to that. Manny, so I hate to put you on the spot, but how are you feeling?
No,
about it?
I'm not sure. I want to see some new plans.
Okay.
I want to see some of the improvements.
All right, so then that's fair.
You know.
Manny needs to see it actually laid out on a plan before he could really weigh in. And Maria, you're feeling the same way? All right, so it looks like three are kind of in agreement with you on your take on it. A couple maybes if they can actually see the plan, how it lays out.
Yeah, and as I work with the engineer, what things specifically do you want to see? And I know you're looking at my drawings right now, but it sounds like you want to see where the trash enclosures are going to be.
Well, I mean, if one of those 7 parking spaces is not allowable, I mean, that sounds like a perfect place for a trash enclosure.
Well, I think that would then have the same problem. It's a drive aisle problem, I think is what Tito's saying. So
depending on the size of the enclosure, it may
Right.
be.
And I'm familiar with those drive aisle requirements. I can pull them up in the code. So I'll go measure it and find out. But one of the first things I thought when I walked back there and saw how it was spray painted is that the drive aisle looked just by eye a little tight. And so, yeah, if that 7th space is used for a dumpster or for an enclosure of some sort, it causes the same problem in terms of drive aisle width, as far as I can tell.
And I mean, if we're getting actual professional plans, let's see some of those improvements thrown in part of the application. There's nothing wrong with including more than is the minimum required.
You're talking the facade?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that stuff is mostly repair work as opposed to new construction. So I'm not sure.
There could be a note on the site plan.
Okay.
Showing, building to be painted.
Yeah, it'll be repainted, recaulk the windows. There's a lot that I was planning to do already, so not an issue at all to put that into the plans. I also want to maintain some of the historical significance, and so there'll be thoughts around that as well in terms of I'm not going to repaint all the brick. The brick right now is unpainted, but all the windows will be repainted. The porches and the front porches and the back patios will be repainted. Any of the rot, will be removed and the trim redone. So all of that, I can include, no problem.
All right. So it sounds like you know what you need to do between now and the next meeting.
And anything else before that you'd want to specifically see in the plans? So I have.
Yeah, just put those enclosures on the porches. It sounds like you understand what that is for the trash. I mean, I think that you've got a good vision for that. Just include that in there.
With basement bedrooms, do they have to have escapes from those bedrooms themselves?
Yes.
And just make sure those are all noted and everything in your plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just on the life safety plan, having like the dotted egress sign with the distance too. I think that was a concern, right? So.
Yeah, and the building is fully sprinklered as it is, including the basement. And so there will be some reconfiguration of sprinkler heads that's required, but the system is already there throughout the basement and throughout the other levels as well.
All right. I just want to know, obviously they want a better set of plans, but just so you know, they don't have to be stamped yet at this phase, if that makes a difference to you.
Okay. And that's by next meeting, you said, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have them ready by the next meeting, probably don't plan to come to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll plan to share them with Tito as soon as I get them in, and I'll reach out to them tomorrow to see where they're at.
Great. All right. Any other last questions, comments? All right, then I'll make a motion. Make a motion that the project involves reuse of an existing building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and no further environmental review is required. second by Kyle. All in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the project at 5:25 at our January meeting. Second by Kyle, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Right.
And so just from my understanding, ultimately, this next hearing will be a public hearing, and that's when it'll be determined officially yes or no, correct? Is that how it works?
It should, yes, assuming that the public hearing doesn't reveal a lot of extra questions that we can't get answers from you during that meeting.
Okay.
And you need to provide additional information. But normally, yes, at the public hearing, we usually will decide after that. All right. Thank you.
I think I'm up next, so.
Oh, all right. Great. All right, so our last seeker determination tonight is for the applicant Owen Bly. Project address is 168 Water Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of the upper stories of an existing building into 20 dwelling units in the C2 Downtown Business District. Welcome back.
Thank you.
If you could just both state your name and address for the record.
David Whalen, 19 Oneonta Street, Binghamton.
Owen Blythe, excuse me, Owen Blythe, 33 Court Street, Binghamton.
All right. What are you guys doing?
So the renovation of this building calls for 20 apartment units covering the second, fifth, of 24 beds. In the plans that you have, we would request approval for up to 30 beds. We kind of inherited the drawings and the project after some work and demolition and whatnot had been done, and we've identified some units where there is potential to add another bed. So we're working with the architect to finalize those plans and make sure that would work. But that is it in a nutshell.
So the paper we have in front of us is for 20 units.
Correct.
You want to add additional units?
No. It's 20 units and 24 beds, what you're looking at in front of you. We've identified in the plans perhaps some opportunity to add bedrooms in some of the units. So we would request an approval for up to 30 units. It would be not any more than that.
Sorry, 30 bedrooms. It's
Or
going to
30
be
bedrooms, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's going to be 20 units. And this project at one point previously was approved for 18 units. We're kind of resubmitting the same project because there's 2 additional units. So it's 20 units for sure. The number of bedrooms could change between now and next meeting. So we're just trying to get out ahead of that. The maximum it would be 30 bedrooms. Right now in the plans, there's 24 bedrooms for 20 units.
So your plan is to submit to us updated final plans before the next month's meeting with the definite number of bedrooms?
Correct.
Okay. Because I will say, even if we're willing to go ahead with the seeker, I wouldn't want to approve anything with maybe up to 30. Like I want to.
Sure, and that makes sense.
Definitely.
We were just, like I said, finalizing that with the archmechanic. Apologize for misspeaking.
That's okay.
Up to 30 bedrooms.
The other question I would ask is, how many bedrooms in the largest unit? Because will that impact parking things, because there are no parking requirements for residential units with less in the C2 unit?
The maximum number of bedrooms per unit would be 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
So some will become 1 bedrooms to 2
Correct.
bedrooms. Okay.
Yeah. And right now, all of them are either 1 or 2 bedrooms. Yep.
All right. You're good? All right. So you're familiar with the type of drawings we're looking for the other project?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. I didn't realize you.
It'll be a different engineering firm for the other one, but
Sure.
both similar.
Okay, perfect. All right, could you talk about what the waste management plan for this project will be?
Yeah, our intent would be to build an enclosure for garbage and recycling towards the northwest corner of the building.
Which would contain a dumpster.
All right. And that's new. There's no dumpster currently.
No, the building is vacant other than a a newly signed commercial tenant.
All right, so is that dumpster would be along the side where the parking spaces are?
Correct, towards the back of the building.
Okay.
And on the other side of this property, on the south side, I currently own a dumpster that's utilized for a different building, but it rarely fills. And so if we had overflow, I would probably plan to leverage that dumpster as well. It's dedicated for a different building and a small juice shop,
Okay.
but there's room in it as well for
right.
overflow.
So in the submission, there was no site plan because you're not making any modifications, but and now you're talking about adding the dumpster enclosure. Is it possible to add a site plan to this set? It could be
Yes.
simple. But I think that needs to be included for approval between now and the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, perfect. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns about anything? Question that sometimes comes up, can this building really hold this number of units? Is this a good use of the space, or are we making a beehive? Somebody
No,
compared
from
it
a
to
square
beehive
footage
one time.
perspective, there's more than enough room. I think the smaller one-bedroom units are still upwards of 600 square feet a piece or so. So
Okay,
very comfortable.
great. All right. This one seems like it might be going a lot quicker. Nothing else? All right. All right, so I'll make a motion that the proposal involves a reuse of an existing commercial building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and no further environmental review is required. Seconded by Chris, all in favor? 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for 5:30 at the January meeting. Seconded by Kyle, all in favor? 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you
Thank
in
you.
January. All right, that concludes seeker determinations. So now we're on to public hearings and final deliberations. In this portion of our meeting, we will be holding open public hearings to obtain public opinion in regard to specific projects that are up for review. Applicants will be asked to come to the microphone and make a brief presentation describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we are reviewing your information, so it would be very helpful if you could please give us a brief overview of the project to remind us what you're planning, and then clearly identify any changes that have been made since the last time we saw you. When the applicant is done presenting and any clarifications have been reviewed, we will open the public hearing and allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate. To all our applicants, when your project name is called, please come to the microphone and start off by giving a name and address of any members of the applicant's team that is planning to speak for our public record. And to anyone from the community that will be speaking in regards to a project tonight, please also start off by stating your name and address for our records. All right, so tonight our first public hearing is for the applicant Reagan Development Corp. Project address is 1 North Depot Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing industrial building into 50 dwelling units with 54 total bedrooms in the C1 Service Commercial District.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Campbell, Him Howard and Kittel for the applicant. We also have Matt Rowe here with us from Keystone Associates. This is obviously the adaptive reuse of an existing dilapidated building on the railroad tracks. Nothing has changed since the last meeting, same unit count, same number of bedrooms. There are 2 modifications that you have received. The common space has been split into 2 so as not to allow more than 25 people in each space. And the dumpster enclosure has been provided. Do you want me to go through the whole project or are you kind of good with that? We will be seeking variance relief next week for a prohibition against residential use on the ground floor, the first 30 feet. As you can see, the building is a weird shape. And commercial activity on that ground floor or that ground floor is just not going to work in this building. So we'll be doing that. These are affordable rental apartments, 80 up to 80% of the average of the area median income. So these are not low-income units. These are people making between $53,000 and $75,000 a year. Construction is scheduled to begin in June of 26, completed in September of 27 with occupancy in late 27. The building is in, bad shape. The floors are collapsing on each other. The roof is collapsing in. I'm sure there's a host of other problems with the building. This is a $35 million investment. Reagan Development, just so you know, for context, also is my client previously for the Century and Sunrise buildings in Johnson City. They have a proven track record of adaptive reuse and historic preservation. They're great to work with, and I think Johnson City has found that they are a great owner. The building will be fully electric fit out with green. It's a green building project. It's not a LEED certified project, but a green building project. There will be a live-in superintendent. So there will be an on-site management. Why don't I just go right into the trash management plan? Because I know that's going to get asked. Just get it over with. No. So that will be handled by the superintendent. There is a basement. This building has a basement, so any storage will be down there. And the superintendent will be taking the trash from the basement to the dumpster. There also is a trash room on each floor, which is in the revised plan. Hopefully you're able to find it. I couldn't, but I found it finally. So that's where the tenants will take the trash. Again, this is a working families and individuals project. I think that's it.
All right. Can you show us? I don't think we have the updated site plan with the dumpster location shown. That's where it wound up.
I just checked Basecamp. I updated the new floor plan, but the site plan I did not update, but they did submit that in time.
Okay, great. All right. So it's just in the corner there.
Yep, right down here. Yep.
All right. And that's pretty much the only change from the previous site plan.
Yep.
All right. Everybody okay with that? All right. All right. Fantastic.
There is a historic tax credit component to the project. So SHPO will be reviewing it, and then COD. We're not ready for that yet, but that will happen once all the submissions are made.
All right. And Tito, procedurally, we can approve this before you have to go through the zoning. Yeah.
You can approve it subject to the variance being granted.
All right. Conditional approval. All right. Any questions before we open the public hearing? All right. So let's see if there's anyone here to talk about this project. All right. So this is the public hearing for the applicant Reagan Development Corp. The project address is 1 North Depot Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing industrial building into 50 dwelling units with 54 total bedrooms in the C1 Service Commercial District. If there's anyone that would like to speak about the 1 North Depot Street project, please come to the microphone. All right. And did we receive any letters to the planning department? No letters received. All right. Seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. All right. Last chance. Any concerns, questions, comments? All right. Then at the last meeting, we determined that this was a project that involved the reuse of an existing building for a permitted use. So it's a type 2 action and no further environmental review was required. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. Seconded by Kyle, all in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Oh, I'm sorry. That motion is, can I revise that motion?
Yeah.
Conditional, condition Yes, conditioned on that the zoning board approves the variance requests. Sorry, all right, so we'll revote. So the revised motion, seconded by Kyle, all in favor. All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Sorry about that.
Still thanks.
All right.
Have a
Thank you.
nice holiday, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, our second public hearing tonight is for the applicant Marchuska Productions LLC. Project address is 49 Court Street. And this is a site plan modification to construct an additional 4 parking spaces in an existing parking area in the C2 Downtown Business District. Hello, Justin. All right. Has anything, well, sorry, start off your name and address for our record.
Oh, certainly. Justin Marchuska, 49 Court Street, Binghamton, New York.
All right. Has anything changed between last meeting and this meeting?
The only thing that's changed is we did have a meeting with the church next door, and the one parking spot that lines up with their walkway, we did agree that if they had a funeral, something of that nature, we would close that spot off for a hearse or something of that nature. So we're agreeable to be a good neighbor and allow that.
Okay, great. But that would not affect what you're requesting in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
If they contacted us ahead of time, we have a good relationship. We would just close that spot down.
All right. And then I think the only thing we talked a bunch about last meeting was the installation of the planting from the previous project that hadn't been done yet. And you explained that you were working on it. It was
Right.
just taking longer than expected. If we make that a condition of approval for this revised or this request, is that okay?
We're in agreement with that. We
Okay.
appreciate the board working with us and allowing the additional time.
All right, that sounds good. All right, any questions, concerns before we open the public hearing? All right. All right, so we'll open the public hearing for the applicant Marchuska Productions LLC. The project address is 49 Court Street, and this is a site plan modification to construct an additional 4 parking spaces in an existing parking area in the C2 Downtown Business District. If there's anybody that would like to speak about the 49 Court Street project, please come to the microphone. All right. And Tito, did we get any letters about this project? All right. All right. Seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. All right. All right. So the request from the staff was to go back and do 8 trees in the landscape buffer along State Street and at least 4 trees along the landscape buffer on Henry Street.
We're in agreement, yeah.
Okay, great. All right. All right, so let's do. Sorry, this was a unlisted action. All right, so we have a checklist to read off here. All right, since we determined that the proposal was an unlisted action under seeker at the last meeting. So I'll make a motion for a negative declaration for seeker review based on the following. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? No or small impact. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So based on those items, I'll make a motion for a negative declaration for seeker review. Second by Manny, all in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan modification have been met, contingent on the applicant planting at least 8 trees in the landscape buffer along State Street and at least 4 trees in the landscape buffer along Henry Street
Should we talked about next season, should we just say 12 months?
within 12 months.
Right.
Is that okay?
I'm in agreement, yes.
All right, so within 12 months. Yep. All right, that's the motion. Second by Kelly, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. Thanks, Justin. All right, that concludes public hearings. On to other business. Anybody have any other business? No other business. That's it. Tito, nothing? All right, then. Kyle makes a motion to adjourn. Oh,
Just one,
oh, yeah.
earlier this month, I mentioned that I noticed a damaged sign for a public hearing. If we ever notice that is the right thing to do, just to email planning department. It looked like it was wind damage, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't for our meeting, it was for a zoning board of appeals meeting, I think, so. But
Gotcha.
there was 2 other ones right next to it that were fine, so.
Nice. You're being a good citizen.
Well, it just crossed my mind that happened between the last meeting and now, so just wanted to check that was the right way to do it.
Gotcha.
Before we adjourn, is the 2026 calendar posted or will it be posted? So we'll know what dates we're gonna have meetings and things like that.
Well, we gave IT the meeting. So,
Okay.
should be posted.
Okay.
Looked like January 6th was the next one, right?
Sorry, I was late. I was diligently working on my friend's song so that I could get you out of your ice skate.
Nice. All right. Now that's it. All right, so motion by Kyle to adjourn. All right, all in favor? Oh, sorry, is there a second? Second by Manny, all in favor? Oh, 7 in favor. Mario's not objecting anymore.